All right, so now we're at the phase where you should have your highlights and shadows. And the next thing I'm going to do in here is just kind of start going in with some of my other fun colors. So I'll referring back to my palette and kind of thinking about what would go well where. I'm going to work with some of these intense colors on the ocean. I'm also going to use some of these richer tones. You also may notice I added in my clouds. I had those kind of in my sketch and we kind of forgot to put them in the other picture. But I treated them just like anything else that I placed, where I added the highlight in relation to where my light source is. So the left side of my clouds has been given a little white highlight in there. And now I'm just going to work with my palette a little bit. I've mixed up a variety of those colors that are on my little chart. And just going to go in here now and kind of start working up some different color schemes, okay? Some techniques for doing clouds include using your brush in a circular motion. So I want the clouds to have sort of a roundness to them. So as I'm moving my round tip brush here, I'm swooping it to kind of get a circular mark onto my canvas. I'm working really quickly, so I just placed that sort of light pink next to my white. Now I'm taking this tangerine-y color, which was that one that was kind of at the end of my palette there, and swiping that right in or on top of my pink color. So we have a little bit of a gradual shift there from white to kind of a light pink to this kind of richer color. Okay. Now I'm gonna go in and just kind of add some little swipes of other colors in the sky. If this is kind of a sunset, we wanna keep some richness going on there. I'm gonna go back in with my chip brush here and just kind of place some other colors. Okay. Want to keep that nice tone peeking through that we placed on our canvas first, because that's kind of creating a nice harmony. I'm gonna just go right over top of some of that. Work it around my sphere here. I'm using a really light touch with this chip brush. Okay. Now you could choose, maybe like try and go in there with a little bit of my kind of pastel-y color. One of the beautiful things about a sunset or a sky in general is there's going to be a lot of color happening. And those colors can overlap. Oh, got a little bit of dry paint in there. They can respond to each other. Just get a little bit of that straight pink. I really like how the chip brush kind of gives you those streaky marks. I think for a sky, or an ocean, which is, both of those are in this picture. It's a really nice texture to create. I'm gonna darken the right side of the sky here because it's a little farther away from my light source. And rather than using the color mixed with black, I'm just using a color that has less white in it and more of those pinky, orangey tones that I've started with. Okay, so getting a nice, feels very, very warm here in this picture. All right. Now sometimes you need to go back and kind of crisp things out again. So for example, I want to bring my clouds up a little bit more. So I'm going to make use of this tint I have right here, this nice kind of yellowish tint, yellow orangey kind of tint, and kind of place that along my clouds. Again, using kind of a swiping motion. Working pretty quickly here, just to warm up the picture even more. Okay. And then I'm also going to place a little bit of that into the sphere. Okay, I have this nice white highlight here, but need to add to that, so I'm just going to put my next color kind of right on top of that. So just like you did when you were practicing your forms, whatever your form is that you've made, we're going to layer those colors so you have it from a nice gradual shift of white to shadow area. Okay, and kind of keep working on that. So I would probably go to like this color on my palette next, okay, which is pretty close to that one, just a little bit darker. Just trying to create a little gradient on my sphere there. Okay. And then, you know, now the next kind of step would be to start blending that dark color that I have into the sphere itself. So just working back and forth here to kind of create what feels like a round object in the sky. And it's just going to be several layers. Okay. Just kind of bringing all those colors together. Remember, if there's ever anything you don't like, or if you don't like the way it's turning out, you can always let it dry and come back to it later. It's a beautiful thing about paint in general, but also acrylic paint, okay? And there we go, that's starting to get a little bit better. Really trying to get that roundness, and now we can see where that nice white and that nice shadow are really contributing to the fact that this feels very round. In the sky here, I'm gonna go ahead and make a really bright value. Little trick I often use if I am making a landscape is to make the sky right above the horizon. So my horizon here is the ocean line. To make it a little bit lighter than the rest of the sky, it just helps to increase the depth. And as you can see, I'm going over my palm trees and stuff, but that's fine. I mean, if you've kind of been noticing, I'm pretty much, now that I'm going in with the details, I'm working from the top of my canvas to the bottom, because you want those objects that are in the foreground to be on top of anything in the background, right? Because that just would be the physical space. And so in order to do that, you're gonna have to have those edges overlap. So I want everything in the distance to be flushed out first, and then I will move to the objects that are closer in the image. Okay, I'm gonna kind of add a few more layers to my clouds here. All right, so moving on next time.